Welcome back to my channel, guys. I recently made a YouTube short about this exact story that I'm going to share again. The reason why I'm making a follow-up video is that YouTube shorts only allow you to record up to 3 minutes. So I was like rushing to tell the story in that short, and I didn't say everything that I wanted to say because I only had 3 minutes. And as soon as I posted that short, I was like, why didn't I just make a full-length video? This is a good story. You know, the people want to hear a good story, right? So here we are with a follow-up video. You guys know me if you're subscribed to my channel. I like to tell a story. I like to go into the details, the minutia. I don't want to be limited by, 3-minute limits, okay? Let's ban time limits. Okay, let me tell my story. It's also funny to me how literally every couple months with this channel, I'm like, I don't know what else to talk about. I've exhausted every topic to talk about for this channel. And yet something like this will happen out in the wild. I'm just minding my own business and a perfect opportunity comes up for a story to share with you guys. So I'm going to get into it. But before I do that, I just want to share that I'm trying out a new look today. I don't know if I've done this in a previous video, but I have my hair partition in, particularly because my hair is totally wet. I just hopped out of the shower. But not only do I have my hair partitioned in to keep everything nice and tight, I hate when my hair is wet and it's, everywhere. But I also, for the first time ever, I decided to use a hair tie that I bought months ago prematurely, knowing that my hair was going to keep, I was going to keep growing it out. And I have to say, I think it looks kind of cute, probably a little too early to be rocking the man bun at this length. I don't know if it looks crazy. It looked fine earlier before I started recording this. But I just wanted to tighten and keep everything clean and polished for my very professional YouTube channel. But I'm excited to rely more heavily on this man bun, as the hair continues to grow. Okay, now let's get into the story. So the other day, I was minding my own business, sitting at my local French bakery that I'm obsessed with here in Miami. And I'm eating my tuna sandwich, which is not at all a French thing, by the way, but it was on a baguette. That's the French part, okay? The bread is amazing at this bakery. So I'm eating my little tuna sandwich on a baguette. And by the way, I also got a pastry with iced coffee. So the pastry it's called a Swiss bready, doughy, chocolate filled pastry. So not quite an eclair and not quite a pain au chocolat, if you're familiar with the treats. I digress again, but the point is I'm having my own little feast and I'm in my own world, right? Sitting outside at this bakery in Miami. And there's these two women sitting behind me, older women, I would say 60 something. And at the next restaurant next door are two men also sitting outside, I would say mid 40s. And at a certain point, as I'm just eating my tuna sandwich, I hear one of the two guys engage with these two older women. And he's very loud because, again, it's the next restaurant over, right? So anybody in the vicinity can hear this conversation because he's having to be very loud in order for her to hear because it's not even the same restaurant, right? So I can hear everything. And of course, I'm eavesdropping. And one of the first things he says is, "You ladies are so beautiful. Where are you visiting from?" And throughout the conversation, it becomes very clear that he's hitting on them and he's like shooting his shot, which I found, in any situation it's just fascinating to witness flirtation in the wild, right? Courtship in the wild. But it was particularly interesting because of the dynamic of he's considerably younger and also he was very like machismo Miami. And these women are like the whitest women ever, like very waspy. They mentioned they were visiting from New Hampshire. So everything about it to me was just like very entertaining and fascinating to witness. And the women, by the way, loved the attention. So they're engaging back and they're also being very loud back so that the guy can hear them. And it almost sounded like they were yelling because they were so loud. Like it almost sounded aggressive to me when they would talk, respond to this guy. So it took me a second to adjust and realize like, oh no, they're definitely flirting both ways. Like this is not an argument. It was just bizarre all around, but I'm fascinated, right? So my ears are perched up while I'm eating my pastry. At one point, the women ask if he's local, and the guy says he used to live in Miami, but he had to leave the States for South America because he's just sick of the political correctness. And as soon as he says this, I'm like, uh-oh, where is this going? Where's this going? But the women agreed and they were like, oh, we totally get it. We get what you mean. And then he goes, yeah, if I want to call a woman beautiful walking down the street, I want to do that. Like, I don't want to be micromanaged and, have to feel weird about it. I want to say that. And as soon as he said this, I'm like, oh my goodness, where's this going to go? Because I just have a feeling, that broken clocks are right twice a day. And so far, this seems kosher and it makes sense. But like, where is this going to go? In the meantime, the women are completely indulging him, like, yeah, we agree, we agree. And again, I'm like, how much of this is them being boomers and genuinely agreeing with him? And how much of it is like they just enjoy that this man is hitting on them? So they kind of asked for it by engaging him. But then, of course, I end up being right. And he just unravels and he just goes on and on about all the politically correct things that he doesn't want to deal with in America. He goes in about how he was talking to a fat chick, those were his words, a fat chick on Instagram the other day, and that she asked him to send him money to keep talking. And he's outraged by the audacity of these fat chicks, of these women who barely have enough clothes on and they all want to be OnlyFans models and all this stuff. And he just keeps going and going. And I'm like, I just knew. I just knew that he was one of those guys where he doesn't understand that you can hit on a woman and shoot your shot and not at the same time have all this, dare I say, baggage that comes with it of like lacking tact, lacking basic common sense and like EQ, right? Emotional intelligence. By the way, at this stage, the women are still like, yeah. I don't know if they were genuinely, agreeing, but at this point, I finished my pastry. I had to get back to work. I'm thrown off by this whole discourse. I had to head home. But I was thinking about it walking home, like, it's so interesting how guys like this totally lack nuance and they see everything in black and white. Coincidentally, I went out last weekend and a guy grabbed my ass in line for drinks. This was like, I guess it's technically a gay bar. It's one of those like mixed bars, but mostly gay people go. Anyway, he grabbed my ass without, conversing first or saying hello, or like he just went for it. He was clearly drunk out of his mind, and it wasn't even that late. It couldn't have been even midnight. And this story with this guy talking to the older women reminds me of that because it was just so forward. And I think I literally said to him, like, wow, you're really forward, and sort of giggling out of nervousness and like being uncomfortable, but also sort of I don't know what the word is, curious, because it was just so bold that I'm not used to men being that forward. And there's a part of you, well, there's a part of me, let me not speak for anybody else. There's a part of me that enjoys a guy knowing what he wants and going for it because it's so rare to encounter. But as soon as he grabbed my ass, it was also this thing of like, why do you have to like, go for that without even just like talking to me first? Like, I might be open to you grabbing my ass in public when I've had a few drinks and nobody else is talking to me, but like at least say hi, how are you, or buy me a drink. And I was talking to a couple female friends about this the day after. And they completely agreed, which was so interesting to me. They were like, in some situations, we totally be into a guy going for it and I don't know, this is spanking. That's different from grabbing. What's on my mind today? But do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so interesting how, yet again, you have these people who it's all or nothing. And I'm like, why does it have to be all or nothing? Can't we meet somewhere in the middle? Like, can't you engage with me, but in a way where you're sort of reading the room? Why are my options the guy grabbing my ass out of nowhere as his first introduction at the bar, or a guy tapping me on Grinder, pressing the tap button without really even trying to make a conversation? Like, why is it these extremes? And I'm curious if women feel the same way. Apparently it's similar based on the friends that I spoke to the next day. It is quite ironic though that back to back I experienced that, and then a couple days later I see this out in the wild among the heteros. The saying this reminds me of is, you get more with honey than you do with vinegar, right? You don't have to start so brashly and abrasively, but you should also start with some kind of clear intention, right, when you want to approach somebody. And I don't know. I don't know if it's the effect of technology that people don't really know how to talk to each other anymore. I mean, the people at the bakery technically are not part of, millennial or Gen Z uh, generations where we're like hooked into our devices, and yet they seem to display the same sort of social awkwardness of me observing this courtship and kind of cringing secondhand. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Can't wait to read them.